right, well, welcome everybody to this roundtable about de-globalizing gastronomy and the taste of authenticity. Normally, I have to do these things in Spanish, so it's very nice to be here doing this in my native language and leaving all the hard linguistic work up to my panel. I moved to Madrid in the year 2000, and I would suggest that this city is a very interesting venue to have this discussion, because obviously the Madrid of the year 2000 was a very, very different place, and as anyone that knows the city will have seen, a lot of the family restaurants, a lot of the family bars there toda la vida, as they say, have disappeared, have been crowded out by this sort of increasing globalization. We've seen the arrival of so many brands here in Madrid. So let's just start with a very sort of general question about globalization and throw it over to the panel. How would you say that globalization has changed the gastronomy scene in Spain in recent years? Who would like to start with that one? Nino, you're probably...
about the last year or the future?
No, in recent years.
Yes,
years. In the last years.
For me, last 15 years, my family, we have restaurants from 100 years old.
Yeah.
So it has been like always regular times until last 10 years probably, when Madrid opened to the world. And we start to grow up with different concepts, open kitchens from other countries around the world in Madrid. And yeah, I think Madrid is really, really easy to accept other cultures, we are open-minded history people. I think the best of Madrid is nobody is from Madrid, closed people, no? One from Cordoba or Chile if you are living in Madrid, you are a Madrileño. So this concept of open-minded to the gastronomic is that we accept everybody to give to Madrid more culture, more value. And yeah, I think this is about 10 years. Madrid has grown up about more cultures and about more quality. No? I think sometimes I remember I have Las Tortillas de Gabino from 17 years old. And my father, when we opened, he said to me, you have to just paint and it doesn't matter. You cook well, you serve well, and that's it. Because this is the most important in the traditional Madrileño recipe for success gastronomy, no? But now you have to be illumination, you have to be sociality, decorador, no? And now we have grown up a lot of in just not food, quality, and the atmosphere, the experience, and I think we are in nice position, no, for grow up next years.
I've seen a great photo of your relatives outside the first restaurant, I think.
My grandfather.
Just tell us a little bit about your family history. You know, going back, how did they start?
The father of my grandfather in 1919, he born in the mountains of Asturias, and he lived there with a chorizo and black pudding, typical from there, and liquors also. And he comes to Madrid for open a small tavern called La Estrecha, because it was so thin that he called La Estrecha. And then he asked 1 year later to the mother of my grandfather to send the biggest children, was my grandfather with 10 years old. He comes for work 16 hours a day. And we grow up the family until to have taverns, 6 taverns, La Estrecha in Madrid. One of them, a cousin of my grandfather, he was the most intelligent, and he registered the name of the paper of La Estrecha, so he comes to my grandfather to change the name because he was the property. And my grandfather, not very kind people, but he continued, and he said, okay, I can't be La Estrecha, I will be La Ancha, no? And then with my father and my uncle, the third generation, they took a small tavern without no success, no talent, no nothing, just few values about honesty. And they has give us to my brother and me 2 restaurants with a lot of families, very fidelization,
Yeah.
about my family. And now my brother and me, we are trying, the most important is to keep La Ancha and continue respecting and do it in the same way or just a little bit better. And our dreams were growing up in parallel way, but the most important for us is to keep La Ancha, no?
Yeah. So your family has come from a time when, restaurants were more functional, had a more functional role to where we are now, which is obviously a very high-end gastronomy and an attraction for people visiting from abroad. What about you, David? What would you say about how globalization has changed the scene in Madrid in recent years?
Well, first of all, I think we cannot take Madrid as a sample of the rest of the country. Maybe Barcelona and Madrid have like similar features regarding gastronomy, but if you go to other regions of the country, also with high tourist characteristics, it's hard to compare because of the size of the cities and also the influence from other countries. So I think Madrid is really shaping. It has a new shape as a tourist destination, and I wouldn't say the last decade is like the last 5 years. It's really evolving into a global hub. I wouldn't say that globalization has done good to gastronomy in Spain as a whole, because as the topic of the panel today is globalization harming authenticity, and I think it's this way actually in Spain. Everything is baos and everything is gyozas, and so we are somehow concealing our authenticity as a gastronomy, and we have to analyze what our tourists coming from abroad, coming from all around the globe, when they come to Madrid, when they come to Spain, what are they really looking for? Are they looking for croquetas? Are they looking for fabada? Or are they looking for those globalized international elaboration? So we have to think about it. It's also great for local demand that we have such a wide array of international restaurants, but that might somehow damage our position as a gastronomy destination.
And Damián, you're in an interesting position because you're the person here as an ambassador for a global brand. You're here representing Nespresso. So, I mean, how do you see it? What is the mission of Nespresso within Spain?
Well, our mission, I think that not only the globalization that make us change or adapt to the new trends or reality, even the era that we are living also, that this era post-COVID that accelerates some services. For example, we saw the delivery that grows up, the customer has time to have more knowledge. So I think that they are looking for new experience, not only came for the food, if not, they came for new experience. They demand also new products, but these products, more sustainable products, more with right price, that respect the producers and the product. So I think that they are looking for new experiences. And at Nespresso, we are working in all this experience around a cup of coffee, but I think when you are entering or a hotel or a restaurant, you are looking for that. So we are working for create the best experience as possible that you are when you are in a hotel, having a breakfast or having lunch, taking new moments of consumption also, because coffee is not only for mornings or after lunch. So we are working in this type of experiences around this cup of coffee.
Well, we'll talk more specifically about. I particularly want to speak about Spanish coffee later on.
We can.
But on the issue of globalization, Nuno, how do you think smaller restaurants and smaller bars in Spain can resist these forces of globalization? How can they survive in a world that is complete, or in a culinary scene that's increasingly globalized?
I think Madrid has a really nice mix about to open to globalizations and to keep the essence of Madrilean typical restaurants with traditional families, with like Botín is the oldest restaurant in the world. So I think all the trending area in all of us about will changing all the time, and the traditional will keep in like a regular level, no? So I think it's really, really interesting for the city that the groups outside Madrid are last few years arriving, Italian, French, Japanese, amazing groups that make really, really, I feel like this, that they make us to be strong, think it better. We learn a lot about them. They have, I have take lunch with a new restaurants group from France, Italian food. They are amazing. I have been taking lunch with them, talking about the life and his company and my company. They are Big Mama group. They are like Apple for me, and I have like a dinosaurio, no? Because I'm 100 years old and they are 9 years old, no? And like how they feel a new type of restaurant group and mine, no? And for me was like, wow, contrast. So every Madrid is, we are trying to learn of all the groups, all the new people who arrive in Madrid, and that's making every level to grow up and make it strong. And I think you can feel from 3 Michelin star to the tavern that we are every day. When I was a child and I learned in San Sebastian to cook in an academy, and you open one restaurant and you eat really, really nice, no? And in Madrid, it's changing every day, every year. I think you can go to everywhere and you can eat growing up better each year, no? And I think if you feel Madrid like the vibration is the people, the culture, the persons. We are working really, really hard, amazing hard from last years, and now I think Madrid is turning back all the quality. We are strong, and I think we are in a really nice moment to be happy of that work, no, last years.
And David, the same question. How do smaller bars, restaurants resist these forces of globalization, not just in Madrid, but in Spain as a whole?
Well, I think that they are, like in your country, are really undergoing tough times because it's harder and harder to manage small. I mean, you have to be really efficient because of the higher expenses, energy, labor. So workforce, of course, we have been chatting about it. It's now one of the key topics, key issues for bars and small restaurants, and also the produce itself. Its prices of food are really going up in the last month. So we are entering a period of uncertainty, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot. Maybe not in Madrid because we see a pent-up demand in Madrid, but I think in the whole country we're going to see a lot of businesses shutting down, closing because of those prices going up. And maybe, yes, 2022 demand has grown up a lot because we saved a lot of money during the pandemic, but now we are running out of those savings. So I don't know how local demand will be keeping up, and also those businesses, especially those that are not so well managed, will be coping and will survive in the near future. So maybe Madrid, the situation is better. Maybe Barcelona, and maybe some other tourist hubs. But in the rest of the country, I see a lot of businesses going down because of the uncertainty and prices going up. So we have to focus on improving management, improving digitalization, keeping costs down. So now it's the time for professionals.
And David, you're an expert in tourism. How important is the gastronomy of Spain for tourists? When they're looking for a destination, is the gastronomy of Spain something that you think tourists take into account? Is it an important factor when choosing a destination?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard to say because we have millions and millions of visitors from different countries. Of course, source number one is your country, United Kingdom. So, of course, among those myriads of this plethora of segments coming to Spain, I wouldn't say that for all of them gastronomy is important, because motivation number one would be relaxing, sun and sea, being with family. This still remains reason number one for visiting the country. But of course, gastronomy, it's being number one reason for a higher percentage. Around 15% of visitors coming to Spain has primary, secondary motivation gastronomy. And good thing is this gastronomy in Spain is always a good add-on to anything that you would do in the country. If you want to go to the beach and then just stroll and walk with your family, it's good to have some nice tapas. If you're coming because of the culture, of course, gastronomy will always be there. So for us as a country, I think it's very important to showcase gastronomy as one great resource, as for example in Italy, where I would say almost everyone that goes to Italy has some gastronomy there, looking for the pizza, looking for gelati, looking for carbonara. So we are keeping up, and we are doing better. But still, I would say the majority of tourist demand to Spain still doesn't have gastronomy as a first, second reason for the travel.
So there's still work to do.
Definitely, yeah.
But who needs to do that work? Does it come down to the I don't know, to local government? Is it an institutional job, or is it something that needs to be done by the sector itself to sell itself? Who needs to do that work?
Well, I think this has to be a shared task. Of course, institution in Spain is, the autonomous communities who have the competencies for tourist promotion and tourist legislation. So yes, of course, I think they have to be the drivers with the private sector.
Yeah.
And also with the academia. I think the academia can also help to preserve traditional recipes, also help producers. It's very important for producers to be able to keep living as they have been living, like in Asturias or in Galicia, for example, for centuries. If everybody moved to big cities and they just leave the countryside, we won't have that produce, which is the core of our traditional recipes. So it's important also for institutions to somehow help those guys to keep their way of living and give us those treasures that coming from the sea, coming from the countryside. So I think it's a shared common task.
Mm. And Nuno, the importance of produce is something I wanted to talk about specifically with you, because I'd like you to explain just how important that is to your restaurants. Locally sourced produce that comes from Spain, that's in season. I mean, that's a key element of any successful Spanish restaurant, I would suggest.
Well, Spain is a product kitchen. No, this is the problem about the not go internationalization. Spanish food is so difficult to make. A paella is so complicated until against the Italian food. No, for Spain, we are in an amazing place for the sea, for the fish, for the seafood, ocean and 2 seas, no, and in the south. So we are, and in Madrid also, because we are in the middle exactly, no. So for us to keep the traditional, about so many families, so many years with so traditional different areas in Spanish, with 800 years with Arabian, giving us a lot of amazing recipes, amazing culture with French. So Spain is so rich culture and gastronomic culture that I think the project to keep the small artisan, to try to make the exercise to keep the black pork or to keep the seeds of the really tomatoes, or we are, I think, now in whole world trying to go back, trying to take our grandfathers did the things very authentic and try to have our own products in Spain, like aguacate from Malaga, not from taking an airplane, no? And for me, I'm doing really this exercise. And how other thing about, you were talking about the success in gastronomy or how important it is. I think we don't forget that the most important for the people really when you ask for where to eat is the persons who is behind the waiter or the girl who's saying to hello every night, no? And I think we are changing that. We are not doing the relation with the employers at the same as my grandfather 70 years ago, no? We are changing really every small restaurant in Spain about to understand that now we have to give other things to the employer, more personality for each one. If you have daughter or you have to be on the school for take your children at 4 o'clock, how can we do for your life, no? And I think in Spain that the people who comes from other countries say to you, I love the people is behind, just not the food, is the people who is happy people, no? I think this is the question we have to keep, no?
Yeah, so it's the whole experience of the diner. Yeah,
but the people, no, the persons, no?
Yeah. And where are your restaurants, the restaurants in your group? I mean, where are they pitched? Do you imagine them as being restaurants for, for local people from the neighborhood, the regular people that come in every day or once a week? Or are you also looking to a tourist market as well? Are you also looking to visitors from abroad?
We have been 103 years old, doing the restaurant for the barrio. How you say barrio?
Yeah, for the neighborhood.
Yeah, for the neighborhood. And that's it. The thing is, we have learned in Barcelona that we opened 4 years ago Fismuller close to Triumph Arc in Borne neighborhood. We didn't know nothing about that area, nothing about if the people from Barcelona should come so that area for take lunch, take dinner. And I don't know why, but they did it. And we start to attract the Catalonian, the Barcelona people, and very naturality way. And then we are 4 years there. Then about 2-3 years later, start to go the foreign people. And now we have really nice mix. But I think at the end that if you, in the natural way, you go for the neighborhood to your people, and then the foreign people loves to go where the local people go, no?
Yeah.
So I don't do nothing for foreign people.
Yeah.
I do with area persons, and then used to be if you do in the right way with honesty, with some value about what you are, and then you attract and give to your business really help, really help. Because in Barcelona, for example, we open kitchen at 7.5 because we have foreign people and we can make 2 turns the table, so it's very good for the business, but like a consequence to do it right on your local people.
Yeah. All right, so Damián, let's talk about Spanish coffee. Now, as I said, I've been living here since the year 2000. In 2000, there was no Starbucks, no chain coffee shops, and if you're not used to Spanish coffee, it can be quite a shock because it's that very strong torrefacto playing the café con leche in the morning. It's a great big, very strong drink. It does take a little bit of getting used to. Do you think that Spain needed other brands? Do you think that the coffee needed a bit of a kick in Spain? Did we need these other alternatives? You're an expert barista. You were telling me before that you did a tasting of 80 different types of coffee. Did we need that change in the market here?
Absolutely. We need this type of companies, and for example, and this type of customers that came from outside and demand this type of product or this quality of the products. Before I started to work at Nespresso, always ask me, what do you think as a barista? What do you think at Nespresso? Nespresso, Starbucks, this type of companies help us a lot, because before that, for the Spanish people, the coffee was all the same, all the same. And when you enter to an Nespresso boutique in 2006, and you see different colors, white, purple, orange, green, coffee is not all the same. People start to think about that. And this helped us a lot, the baristas and the coffee world and the gastronomy. I think coffee in gastronomy plays a fundamental role in all the experience. Usually in restaurants comes with the bill. Yeah. And if the bill is here and the coffee is here, you're gonna have a nice remind of this restaurant of this. We are changing. Slowly, because of our culture of the torrefacto, this strong coffee, bitter coffee. Coffee is a fruit, and we have to understand like that. We need this seed, the seed of this fruit, but this fruit is sweet, is acid, it's not bitter. The bitter is when you roast the coffee, you lose the acidity and you win in bitterness, for example. Or torrefacto gives color, gives this bitterness. So goes slowly. But this one happens with the wine here in Spain, and it's our product. We have wine jars all around in every place in the country. And I remember 20 years ago, the first waiter, the first sommelier that put the wine on a glass, not in this one, because before it was all chatos, like this, or cups. And the first sommelier that put the wine on a glass, people say, oh, this is crazy. This is to take my money from €1 to 3.5 euros. No. And we have culture in the wine. So wine was slowly, and it's our product. Imagine a product that you just see brown in the grinder. You don't see the land, you cannot talk with the producers. So people doesn't know nothing about coffee. So we go slowly. Here the specialty coffee is growing up. In Italy and in Spain, because of the culture of the espresso and the strong coffee, goes more slowly, like Nordic, for example, Nordics or American people. But I think we are in a good way. Madrid was slowly from the other cities. Barcelona was wow. When we started this one, there are plenty of coffee shops. But I think, I believe we need companies that educate customers from here, and we need customers from outside that demand this better quality of coffee, and we are working in this.
David, have you seen this change in the coffee that is offered in the restaurants in Spain?
Yeah, well, I'm not such an expert in coffee. I drink coffee very often. I don't have an espresso. I still have my Bialetti mocha machine. Is that what I use? And I remember, and as Damián was talking, I remember so many meals spoiled by bad coffee in Spain. And now that's not happening. At least not that often. Now I think we know more about coffee. We are requesting better coffee. So it's not like wine. I think that we have a deeper knowledge of wine, since we are a nation of wine production worldwide. Yes, we also produce coffee, but in really small quantities, and maybe in the Canary Islands, for example. But I think we are learning, and global brands as Starbucks or Nespresso, even though they are not national, but I think they also do a job in educating demand. And so when you know a little bit about that, then you can go deeper into specialty coffee and the origins, and then you'll move pro Colombia or Costa Rica. So I think it's improving, and that also has a reflection on restaurants, tables nationwide. Yeah.
And Nuno, in your restaurants, is it something that you particularly focus on?
Yeah, and it's growing the critics on the internet about the coffee. It's more and more about if they likes or they doesn't like. So it seems that the people it's having more and more important about the finish of a meal.
Yeah.
And I think we have in Spain, from last year about Torrefacto after the civil war for make the cheapest coffee. So we don't have really a culture in Spain, culture about the coffee, but are changing slowly. But still we buy too much the not better quality the coffee in Spain. But slowly the people are taking more and more ¿cómo es conocimiento?
Knowledge
about the coffee. So we have to continue growing.
All right, well, that's one current trend in the Spanish gastronomy scene. What are other current trends? What else is happening at the moment? David, do you want to start with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think barbecue.
Barbecue?
Yeah, barbecue is going hot, yes. So la parrilla, it's I think is one of the trends in our kitchens, and almost anything can be cooked on fire, let's say. So this could be one, and of course, sustainability, 0 kilometer produce, that you can understand the origin of the produce in the restaurant. That's this. Farm to fork, farm to table, even though it's not like current trend is from the last, let's say, five years, there's something that we have to go really deeper because it helps us to have a more sustainable gastronomy industry. So this could be two ideas. Brutal local, so something from the actual surroundings of we have great examples worldwide. Michelin-starred restaurants that are really working with producers that are located like 5 kilometers distance or walking distance from the restaurant. So that could be another trend for gastronomy.
And Nuno, the same question?
Yeah, I think it's similar. I think now when you take clothes, you like more and more to feel the value of the mark, no? To see what they do, where are the people working, in which conditions about, and now with the restaurants are happening the same. No, the people when choose where to eat, you need to know what are behind the all the value of the company and the place. No, and I work in El Bulli in 2002, where the techniques were just the techniques to make an amazing experience, to say wow every time, no? And last years, probably with Magnus Nielsen and René Recipe and the Nordic movement about to come back to the product, they start the flame to the people stop and say, we don't have to make the construction of a carrot. Try to understand which carrot, where does it come from, when did the people took out from the heart, and why I have to eat this carrot, no? So I think this movement is a global movement. Probably, I'm very, very happy about this movement, about to come back to the flavors and the origin. And probably when we are so fast, all the movements and everybody we make slowly making the same, and will appear other cool movement again. We don't know which one, But now it's nice moment because I'm a very sensible person about the tradition, the family, to go back the origin, and it's good to understand, like you said, David, about the Michelin star. They are making a garden to take all the vegetables and give you 1 hour later in the kitchen, and just for the flavor, for the true, no? And I think this is the way we are, no, in Spain also.
Absolutely. And Damián, any trends that you're seeing in the coffee market at the moment in Spain?
Yes, like I told you before, we are growing up. There are plenty of coffee shops. Most people are looking for new type of coffee. The coffee world at origin in this moment is like, wow. They are experiment a lot in coffee, new varieties because the climate change, new flavors. The fermentation process now, imagine a coffee. Until 5 years, for example, you fermented the coffee between 8 or 12 hours. I tasted coffee with 400 hours of fermentation, low fermentation, new flavor that only you can taste through the fermentation. We launched at Nespresso last year a coffee that calls La Cumplida Refinada, with 80 hours of fermentation, that you can feel more winey flavors or like this. But for me, there are 3 words that are the key. That is in this trend in all the gastronomy. That is the authentication that you told before, the differentiation, and the specialization. For me, the specialization is the most important, because many places want to serve everything in this place. So I think this will disappear. You have now champagne bar, wine bar, coffee shops, cocktail bar. In coffee, we are always behind the chefs. For example, we have the best chef in the world here in Madrid, that is David Muñoz, for second time. 2 days ago was the 50 best bars, the event in Barcelona. We have 4 cocktail bars in the first 15 places. First place, third place, 7th place in Barcelona, and the 15 is here in Madrid. And I think coffee is growing up slowly, but for me the world is the specialization, and work together with farmers at origin. You must travel and talk with them, listen to them, share with them, and bring this product. That is what I do at Nespresso, for example. We buy the coffee through the flavor. Right. I need this flavor. If you have a very high quality coffee, but I can't use in my capsule the arpeggio, for example, or voluto. Everybody knows voluto. If you don't give me this flavor, I can't buy this coffee. We work through a special program that calls AAA, Sustainable Quality Program. We work together with more than 100 coffee farmers through the agronomist, and we work together. Each country is different. You have to listen to that, resolve the problems that have this farmer, and the most important is the education program that you have with them. You imagine you arrive to Colombia, to Cauca, a region of Cauca, 3 generations of producers, and the guy is producing coffee for 14 years ago, and you arrive there. No, you have to change this because I need this variety, and you have to process this coffee like this, or natural coffee, or washed coffee to give me this flavor. And sometimes it's very difficult, because I am 40 years here cultivating my coffee, and now you came here to change this. So it goes slowly. And I think always that change the way of the agriculture, because the alimentary industry is like, wow, The way that we produce the aliments sometimes is not the best. So we are changing to regenerative agriculture. You have in your place, in your farmers, you have many things that will help you to have better economy, because we always, when we talk about sustainability, it's just with the environment. And it's not only the environment, it's social sustainability and economic sustainability. If it's only from the environment, it's good, but it's not enough. So I think coffee is in a good moment, very, very good moment, and customers are seeing this and are demanding this type of products.
Okay, well, we started by talking about how globalization has changed Spain, has changed the gastronomy scene in Spain. So we could end by asking how Spain could better position itself and position its products abroad in the global market. David, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, sure. There's so much to do about that. Nino mentioned that before. When you go abroad and when you go to any given country, you name it, it's extremely difficult to find a good Spanish restaurant. And especially if you know a bit about gastronomy, and not just paella, which now is like a hype. For example, now in the US, people really loving weird paellas with any awkward ingredients. So it still is very difficult, for example, in comparison to Italian restaurants or Mexican restaurants, different Oriental Asian restaurant or gastronomies. It's still very difficult. So it's hard for us to promote the true Spanish gastronomy worldwide. So that's something that could be, I don't know really how can we improve that, because that's more the private initiative that has to do it. But there is a huge room for improvement there. Regarding the exportation of Spanish products, I think we came already a long way with wine. Wine maybe was number one. Also oil, olive oil. We have improved a lot with that. But still, if you go to Germany, you go to the US, you're going to see plenty of Italian, or at least with an Italian name, olive oil. But they are also improving by new packaging, more innovative, and also by raising the prices. I think one of the problems with Spain, we are too humble. When we always want to keep prices low, and sometimes you have to go bold and mark up prices a lot to really compete with others. So we are also improving marketing. The marketing side of it, I think, is quite important. And all the products, I think, will come afterwards. Will come with the biggest, the most famous products. Yeah.
Nuno, last word, just briefly.
About that?
Yeah, on the same.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult. Italians are the best for selling themselves. I remember when I work in London, and the chefs tell me, no, the anchovies are from Italy and are the best, and say slowly from Cantabria, but la bandera italiana, no, Italian colors, and they have the antipasti, the pasta, the risotto, the pizza, and then the gelato, the cappuccino, and for us it's really difficult. The jamon, I remember a chef, Italian, I work in Italian, with an Italian chef in north of Milan, and he brought jamon ibérico de bellota, and the customers, they didn't like. It was so strong, and he had to stop selling the jamon. No, I think it's really difficult because we have nice products. Sometimes they don't like, but we don't know how to sell. No, the marketing in Spain. Now we have in our company 3 persons of marketing, and in the office, my father arrived there one day, and I have to say, no, are people normal? Because if I say to my father, we have 3 persons of marketing, he said, you are like, no, and we don't know how.
Cooking.
Yeah, we don't know how to sell our products. No, now we sell more olive oil than Italian, but nobody knows. Our wines are slowly, but the the French are the best ones. So maybe probably Spain should have to take a marketing amazing company to give us the confidence that culture Spain we don't have, no? And then we couldn't bring outside the paella because it's difficult, the recipe. We couldn't with the eggs. So we said, okay, tapas, no? We bring tapas to whole world, no? And what is tapas? Nobody knows, no? What is tapas? Small plate, but what else, no? Yeah. So it's so indefinitely, no definido product that we can't make nothing with tapas, no? So it's...
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up there, not least because I'm very, very hungry after this conversation. So thank you very much to our panel, to David, to Nuno, and to Damián. And thank you to you for listening.